Hello and welcome everyone to Mercian Short 4, a presentation by the Middle-earth in Mercia podcast for what I feel is going to be one of the most exciting episodes we have ever had the pleasure of presenting to the community. As those of you who have been following along, Mercian Short is our video production episodes where we focus on specific topics to do with the Middle-earth strategy battle game, and in this series so far we have been following the planned releases and rumours of the next supplement of the Middle-earth strategy battle game, and we have had one of the biggest announcements we have had in quite literally years. I know there is an unbelievably an even bigger announcement that has come after that, which we'll be following up in an episode very soon, but that does not diminish everything we have got to take you through today. If you've been thinking to yourself, where are the new models? Where are the new rules? Where's the new supplement? I need something to spice up the game. Then this is the episode for you, because we have so many slides of new models and the new possibilities that they bring along with them. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So when we last spoke, we were looking at rumor images. Rumor images are a thing of the past now. We know exactly what is coming for us, and we suspected quite heavily that this rumor image was a warrior of Khan Doom, and we had some artwork that sort of matched up with that, and it has turned out that is exactly what this is. So these are helmets of the warriors of Khan Doom, evil men in the service of the Witch King of Angmar, who garrison his fortress at the most northern tip of the Misty Mountains. It is these men that the Witch King unleashes at his side of his at the side of his orcish armies as he seeks to bring ruin to the realm of Arnor. So let's have a look at these models, and here they are in all their glory. So we've got in sort of the front rank there, we've got a banner bearer, and then on the right hand side we've got a guy that looks like he's probably done up like a captain. His helmet is more prominent, and we've got some spearman variants there. So like I'm guessing this pack comes with a few variations. You've got the options for spears, you've got the options for maces, you've got the options for warriors or banner bearers or a captain. And yeah, I think these models are good. I'm a big fan of these models. You know, let's place aside this is all going to be Forge World and stuff like that. We'll talk about that a bit later on. But yeah, I like them. I think they're a nice addition to the range. I have seen quite a few criticisms sort of saying, you know, is this getting a bit Warcry? Is this getting a bit Age of Sigmar? These are looking very much sort of models that would be released for that range, maybe like Chaos Barbarians. And I can see where people are coming from. And if you've been a fan of our content for some time, then you'll be aware I am a big fan of the Peri sculpts. I am a big fan of sort of sticking to the lore as much as viable. And yeah, I can see, you know, this is a continuing progression for the releases that we've had, which is stepping further and further away from those old sculpts. Now, that being said, I am probably going to say something you may be a little bit surprised with. I think it's understandable. I think we do have to face the fact that the majority of the sculpts that we have, that era is over. I think the most recent ones of those are 10 years old, and the rest are 20 years old. The Peri twins left Games Workshop quite a long time ago, and the technology has moved on, particularly the plastic injection and the detail they can achieve with that. And the Forge World resin has moved on leaps and bounds as well. And together with that, we've got the 3D sculpting technology and a new generation of artists, the people that were probably making the sculpts outside of those named people like the Peri twins. They're probably the managers of those departments now, or the quality inspectors of those departments. And we've got a new generation of artists creating these. And I think we just have to accept that things do move on, and I don't think it's fair to sort of hold that against them. We can't expect things to just stay stagnant. They do need to move on. I think we have to assess these models in the realms of, okay, what's the price of them? Where do they fit in the game? How do they look, and how do they fit within the range that we've seen released to us over sort of the last 5 years? That's what the current range is. And within that, I think these are very good. I've got my reservations about Forge World releases and the cost and actually building a force of them, and particularly with these being warrior models. You know, am I going to buy 24 of these? No. Is there a good chance when the rules come out you need 24 of them to actually make something of them? Probably yes. So, you know, there's that. But looking at them objectively, placing that to one side, I think these are really great. I really do enjoy them. I have seen quite a few people say, like, you know, these are meant to be a northern aesthetic. These are meant to be a mountainous aesthetic. These are mountain men. Why have they got their chests out? Anybody that sort of operated, for work or pleasure in an environment that is sub 5 degrees knows the last thing you want is your nipples out. And that's exactly what these boys have got. And that is a quick-fire way to get yourself some frostbite in a very unusual location. I do think that's a bit silly. I think that is sort of stretching into the Warcry Age of Sigmar. We're placing functionality below the aesthetic we're going for, and I do think that is a bit silly, because in Tolkien and Peter Jackson's version of this world, which is where the license come from, we consistently see people more often than not choose function over form. That's not really fitting with the aesthetic. So, if I were to purchase these, I think I would consider just adding an extra bit of green stuff to cover that up, because I don't think it really fits. But on the whole, I like these. Big fan of these. I think these are cool. I really like evil men in general. I don't know why. I think it's because they are the grey area in Tolkien's verse. You know, with the orcs, it's very much they are evil. Like we don't even know whether they have souls in Tolkien's verse. I think it's suggested no. So, you know, that's pretty much as evil as you're going to get. But the men, you know, like with Faramir's speech in, I think it's Two Towers that he gives to the hobbits. I like that grey area. I think it's a nice area to explore. But anyway, moving on. What comes with this, and this is what I mean, is that these announcements just keep coming and coming and coming in this article, is that not only have we had the Warriors of... Sorry, give me one moment. Not only have we had the Warriors of Khand Dûm confirmed, we have had the 112-page supplement that covers the events of Angmar's founding, the Witch King's rise to power, and his wars with the Kingdom of Arnor. This book includes an appendix section following the chieftains of the Dunedain before the final years of the Third Age. So, yeah, what a huge announcement. Like, we've got the new models there, and the confirmation of, they've stayed away from the negativity of the fall of Arnor, and it is instead focusing on the positivity of the rise of Angmar. So I think that's quite cool. Not the name, I'm playing around with you there, but it's cool that we finally had the supplement confirmed, and that this is coming in the latter part of the year. But it doesn't end there. I think I've got another 6 slides of more announced models for you. So let's keep going. So, yeah, it wouldn't make sense to have some new warriors without a cool lad to lead them. So we have the leader of the Warriors of Khand Dûm. Aldrak is a callous and barbaric leader who will stop at nothing to slaughter the people of Arnor in the name of the Witch King. When he goes to war, Aldrak is driven into a battle frenzy, allowing him to declare a free heroic combat as long as he killed something in the previous turn. And yeah, I can really sort of see where even more so the sort of this feels very Chaos Warrior from Age of Sigmar is coming from. This does really look like that. But I do still like the model. I do think it's too much having the bared chest and everything. I think that's over the top, and maybe having the horns, coming forward like that. Maybe that is a bit too chaosy. I think maybe they could have kept with them. Just he could have had some a buck's horns or an elk's horns, like something real big and obnoxious to show his strength, without really sort of leaning into sort of that aesthetic that we've seen from Chaos Warriors. But on the whole, I do like him. That is what it is. I have some reservations there. The mace is also getting a bit fantasy. I think if the Witch King stands next to him with his mace, he's going to feel a bit emasculated. That looks absolutely huge. So yeah, I do see where the fantasy stuff is coming from. Tolkien's fantasy, I forget the terms. There is some differentiations between like high fantasy, classic fantasy, and things like that. But I do think it is a slightly different realm of fantasy. And yeah, with these giant mace and giant helmets and shirts out, it is getting a bit that way. But I think this is a bit different, at least. It is different from other things in the range. Maybe if they kept them the way I'm suggesting, maybe they would have been too akin to the Dunlendings. So, maybe they've gone for something a bit different. And they are a bit different. So I'm positive on that. I have noticed in this article, maybe just because of the pure layers of content that are included in it, they've sort of refrained from giving us too much on the rules, giving too much away. That gives them something for the articles for the rest of the year, I guess. But I quite like that Battle Frenzy one, that he needs to have killed someone to get the heroic combat. Not an automatic, considering he is on foot. That's going to make it a bit harder. I do like that. A bit more situational rather than just giving it to him. I don't think we should have that on every hero. I think it's all right to have generic special rules, and I think it's good from a rules writing perspective and a balance perspective and a playing perspective. But a conditional heroic combat is not the hardest thing in the world to remember. So yeah, again, quite a big fan of this. I see where people are coming from as to whether does it truly fit. It's something a bit different, so I'm willing to give it a pass. I wouldn't like to see the trends continue there. So, moving on, we have this wizard-type fellow, I'm not sure how to say this, Fakecht, a man of Khandoum with a fanatical devotion to the Witch King. Fakecht, I imagine I'm going to get absolutely pulled apart for that pronunciation, but that's what I'm going with based on the couple of languages they've given a go, but maybe that's totally wrong. Acts as his master's advocate within the Northern Fortress. Though he doesn't possess any actual magical powers of his own, so he's a fraud. The men of Khandoum believe he has been blessed by the Witch King himself, and that the incantations of power he chants are able to conjure strength, swiftness, and durability within those who follow him. So I don't know if those of you recall. I'm not sure whether it's still in the rule books now. But there was sort of a suggestion, at least in some of the rule books that I remember reading, that perhaps the shamans weren't actual true magic users, and that it was more how the people around them were interpreting their actions as having validity and having actual power that gave them power and an inspiration. So maybe this is recalling back that, that Uruk-hai shaman doesn't actually have the power of magic. He is just inspiring and causing fanaticism, or maybe giving them some sort of juice drink that is sending them over the edge, sort of thing, like the berserkers in Viking times. Like, they're meant to have taken a concoction to help them get to that level of battle frenzy. And I like that this is a suggestion back to that. And I think we have to really, when we're looking in these articles that aren't giving us specifics, I think we do have to really sort of pay attention to the actual words that are used in them. And here we've got can conjure strength, swiftness, and durability for those who follow him. So what could that possibly mean? Strength, I think that's a given. Swiftness, movement. And durability, perhaps defense. So the ability of this chap to maybe he's got 4 will or something, and every turn he can choose to try and bolster the strength, the movement, or the durability of the troops with him. I think that's really cool. He could be a really cool shaman without being like... I think sometimes the shamans have been given a bit much to play with. Like, for instance, Moray Goblin, they're not a meta list, so it's not something that's like a huge problem. But I think the Moray Goblin Shaman having the ability to shatter Aragon's sword when it's Flame of the West, that's a bit ridiculous. How's he doing that? How's he achieving that? But anyway, I think this is a cool model. Again, I saw the accusations of this getting real Age of Sigmar. Look what's going on with that cloak. And yeah, that is well over stylized. I don't think that really fits with the aesthetic. I think you bring that down a bit and he fits fine. But yeah, this whole range is feeling very Chaos Warbands, but I do like it. I do quite like it. I'm interested to see, because I've seen some people talk about that when you look at them in the photos alongside some of the other models, they appear like maybe they're a bit bigger. So how that's going to be represented in the rules, if it is the case, maybe they have a pip of defense, or maybe they have a pip of strength above others. But yeah, on the whole, I do like this model. I think it's cool. So, moving on, the son of Arvedui, Aranarth, did not become the king after Arnor fell. Instead, he would begin the line of chieftains of the Dunedain, a line that would one day result in Aragon. A master of bow and an expert shot, Aranarth leads the Rangers of the North into battle. He is chieftain of the Dunedain. He's chieftain of the Dunedain special rule, spurring them onwards as they fight the corruption of Angmar. I know there are many people that are really happy to see this. There were people that really, really do passionately love the Dunedain, and they're looking for more ways to play them. They're looking for especially more viable competitive ways to play them. The problem is in an army where they've all got bows, how do you achieve that without just making it a really negative play experience, and a really low skill negative play experience as well? Like, any army that is able to just sit there, and if there's not a lot of terrain, just shoot you off the board reliably, and that's all they really need to do, why even bother to turn up to play a war game? In my opinion, that's not engaging. So I think they will have had to have had, if they want to make a meta choice so that people can take them, and they want to make it an intuitive army, they're going to have needed to add in options and encouragements to get people to play them in a way that's not just shooting things purely off the board. And that is why I'm not super excited for this. I'm happy for those people that were looking forward to this. I know there's some fans of the channel that have mentioned that they were really hoping Rangers would get a release, and I'm happy for you. I think it's a cool model. It is very reminiscent of the Aragon and the other, and Arathon. I do just think, is it going to be that dissimilar from the models we've already got? But hopefully it's a pleasant surprise when it comes to the rule writing. I don't think there's anything wrong with the model. I quite like it. I think it's a bit different going for clean shaven. It would really be quite a copy and paste from some of the others, if not. I like that he's got a bit more iconography, like the kingdom has just fallen. Still proud rather than, generations and generations of living in the wilderness. He does look like a prince that's been ousted. So I think it's good on that point. But yeah, let's see what they say on the rules, really. I hope they've done something interesting. I'm just not a fan of these all bow lists, and it's just like, yeah, we're going to shoot a third of you off and then we're going to get into combat. It is why many of us don't play 40k competitively. and we just play at home, because going to a game where it's just like, okay, let's see what they get on the shooting phase because they're going first, and see how many they kill and what I'm left with, that's not an engaging game. But let's put a pin in it. Let's see what they come out with rules wise. So moving on, I can see why they've done this, but I think this is the least exciting release announced, because it's the least deserving of a new model. It's not a character we've not had before. It's Birdur. We've all seen him occasionally turn up in Angmar lists, and he has a very similar model, which isn't all that much better than the existing metal one, to be honest. Or maybe it's moved to resin. If it's a metal, then I actually think this is downgrade, because now you get to pay double the amount for more or less the same model. So get out there and get the old one. Well, you can if you agree with me on that. But let's see what they say. Birdur has returned with a glorious new model befitting his status as a hill troll chieftain, and I've seen on other coverage he did not have the hill troll chieftain sort of words before. That's new. Alongside his new miniature, Birdur has a new legendary legion that focuses around him and his unrelenting horde, utilising his impressive cunning to gain an advantage over his foes. Now, I actually think the description is more exciting than the model. Let's focus on the model before we move on, though. There's been observations that perhaps this is a bigger base for him. So that's quite interesting. That has a big effect on sort of the utility of monster models. You want the smallest base possible, really. The bigger they get, the bigger it is, the easier it is just to pile on models and then hope they duff their rolls. So really, you don't want the enemy getting more than sort of 3 at the front rank, unless you've been mad and exposed yourself. I don't think there's anything wrong with the model, but like I say, I don't think there was anything wrong with the existing model. So for me, I can, you'll see on the next release we're going through that maybe why they've done this, and I understand it, and they want to keep it current and they want to keep it matching. But that's a big chunk of resin that could have been used on other things, in my opinion. But there we go. So moving on, this is the reason I think they may have done it. It's because we are getting a new model, and it's the Hill Trolls. The Hill Trolls of Angmar, Rudor, and the other lands under the command of the Witch King are filled with more than just orcs and evil men. Hill Trolls can be found roaming there. Unlike the cave trolls or Mordor trolls, these creatures possess a keener mind, and their hill troll intelligence, something also shared by Birdur, allows them to combat their enemies more effectively. So, we were talking about you pay attention to the language they're using when they're not giving us specifics. Obviously, hill troll intelligence is a new rule that is coming our way, so that's going to be interesting to see what that is. Maybe that's something like, because at the moment, big models can't be protected by little models when it comes to bows in certain situations, so maybe they can hide. Maybe it's a deep strike ability. Maybe they can come on the side of the board. That would be cool. Something to make them a bit crafty. I mean, some hill trolls turning up in, I don't know what their stat line is, but some hill trolls turning up in the side of your battle line, that's never going to be a good thing, I can't imagine. But yeah, let's talk about the actual models. I love them. I think they're really cool. They're really flipping ugly. And I really like them. And I like that, like, you can see the similarities to the cave trolls. I do think it's a bit odd. This is just personally me sort of assessing the aesthetic. I think it's a bit odd they're more hunched than a cave troll, because a cave troll's, he's living in a cave. These guys get to go out, they can lift their heads up, they can see the sun. So it's a bit strange to me they're more hunched over, but that's just a random observation that's come to my mind. Just like focusing on the actual models, I think they're really cool. I really like them. They are ugly as sin. And yeah, I think they're great. I like the rags on them and stuff. I like the shield, belt, buckle. I think they're really great. I think it's unfortunate they're going to be really expensive, but I do really like the models. I'm sorry, I'll try and keep that to a minimum. We're being positive. This is loads of new releases. This is going to mess up the meta. And yes, for most of us with our hobby budgets, we are going to have to pick one of these. We are going to have to save up. Maybe we have to ask our significant others and family whether we can have something for Christmas to be able to afford some of these armies. That's gutting, really, that it has to be like that, but it's better than nothing. It's better the game being supported, and it's definitely better even if you don't buy anything. When you're attending tournaments, the meta is going to be spiced up. It is going to be moved along by all these new models, all these new legendary legions hitting us. And from what you're about to see on my final slide and what was said on Burdur's slide, I think we're looking at a monster mash, and that sounds pretty cool to me because we finally have werewolves in Middle-earth strategy battle game. It has long been rumoured that the Dark Lord has werewolves in his service, creatures that can change their form. However, over the ages they have devolved, and by the time of the Witch King's rise, they have long since lost their ability to shapeshift. So no bears, shenanigans, shapeshifting, and instead they appear as great vicious wolves. Such is the ferocity of these werewolves that when they pounce, their feral charge, special rule highlighted there, can send their foes sprawling to the ground. Yeah, so I'm imagining these are going to be like uber cavalry. I've seen mixed reactions to these. I quite like them. I think this is one of the ones that needs to grow on me. I think the faces are very bat-like, but I think that's trying to differentiate them between wolves and werewolves, or just being wargs. But these could be really cool, and these are the exact kind of models that I can see, sort of like the Crabane or the Bat Swarms. That, yeah, they are a bit dear, but you're adding a bit of spice onto the side of your army with just one purchase to like give them a different avenue. And if maybe these are 2 attack models that get all the cavalry benefits, so maybe 3 attacks on the charge with that feral charge. I'm speculating, wild speculation there, I don't know, but maybe if it's that could be pretty cool, I think. They're not absolutely winning me over, but I love the massive claws. Like, look at the size of that thing. That's going to take a man apart. I'm not so sure on the faces, but you know, I think these could grow. I think these could grow on me. And I do like them. I like the idea. No, sorry, we've gone the wrong way. Let's go back to Burdur. I like the idea of this legendary legion that focuses on him and his unrelenting horde. So maybe it's him, some half trolls, some werewolves. Maybe there's some bats in there, and just a load of orcs to pad out the numbers, and it's a proper monster force. I think that could be really cool. Something we haven't really seen the evil side have as well. I mean, one thing I've seen people say is like these need to hit the mark. They can't be like ogres for Azog's Legion. We just don't see them. They're too expensive. They're not good enough. They don't have enough flexibility in terms of the cost that it is taking away from other good options. So yeah, hopefully they hit the nail on the head when it comes to rules. I mean, out of these models, I've seen the hill trolls and the werewolves. I'm quite interested in them. Going back to the Men of Kharn-Dûm, I'd love these models. I do actually think I would like to run a lot of these models, but the cost is going to be prohibitive, and I can't see it happening. I've got too many models sat on my painting desk. Whereas if I go to here, you know, maybe I've got the models sitting around that I could paint up, and I can run an Angmar force, and I could supplement them with some of these and some werewolves, and you know that suddenly that becomes an affordable force. And that's sort of how my mind works with the releases of the ones that I get really excited about, because I know I don't at the moment have 250 quid to throw at an army, buying a mountain of these guys and buying the captain that comes with them and the shaman as much as I would. If they play how I suspect, and you're going to need a decent chunk of them to make it worthwhile. I mean, I can't imagine these are like, oh yeah, just buy 4 of them. 4 of them, yep, you're good for 600 points. I can't imagine that's the case. You could do that, and they're there for spice, but you know, I think these are going to be some sort of elite supplement to your Angmar force, whether that comes from fight skill, defense, or strength. They're going to be some sort of elite supplement, or maybe have their own legendary legion where it's just them in it. But that could be cool. But I think it would be really cool seeing sort of an assault on Lothlorien style. You've got 50% of these, 50% of the orcs. They're working together. That sort of forced thing. But even that, like I say, like if I want to run one war band of them, so we've got this chap. Let's imagine he's a hero of valor, 15. I'm probably going to want to max out the war band. Suddenly we're looking at 4 packs of these guys. I'm sorry. I don't want to get negative on the costs, but it is what it is, and I think these are the major downsides of these all being Forge World releases. That this is how we need to think. And then there will be those of you who've been like, you know, it's in my budget, or I've been saving up, and you know, good for you guys. Enjoy the new models. I'm going to enjoy playing you at the tabletop. But for a lot of us, there's going to be prioritization of funds, and it is something that we do need to think about. You know, when we're talking about these being in plastic and stuff, you know, it doesn't mean the budget is limitless. Games Workshop plastic still has a cost, but it does become a lot easier to imagine yourself starting a new army. Generally, especially if like there's a box set or something like that comes out. But anyway, we've got a bit sidetracked. I think we've covered what I would consider the negatives, which is the same as it always is with these Forge World releases. But you know, let's just zip through here. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 slides of brand new models. I'm really happy with this. Well, I kind of feel like, you know, why didn't you guys just give us a bit more in all those weeks we were sat around not seeing anything, and then everything comes at once, really. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. I am gonna buy the Rise of Angmar, and I'm gonna look at those ways of like we had the King of Gondor. Obviously, like all the releases that we've previously discussed, go back to episodes 2 and 3 if you want to see all the details on them. And we had the King of Gondor. You know, that's possibly an entirely new way to play Gondor, using 95% of your existing models. I'm quite interested in that. We're obviously going to see the re-release of the metal Arnor models to support the new Arnor models we've seen, the cavalry, the cavalry captain, and then we've got the existing heroes, the Arvadui and so on, and the shaman. You know, we're going to have all of that. That's another option. Like, I would imagine that they're going to follow sort of the price structure on those metal models as they have for other war bands, which, if my memory is correct, I think the Mahud is something like 16 models for 55 quid. So, you know, not cheap. It's certainly not just buying the King of Gondor and running it with your existing Gondor force, but probably cheaper than running an all Forge World resin brand new. I need to buy everything from scratch. But yeah, the game is not dead, much to many Facebook commenters' worries over the last year. It's really good to see a new supplement coming out and it being fully supported. This certainly isn't, you know, we're just going to give you a couple and then we've written some things down. I think it's really good, and hopefully I will be able to get the recording done tomorrow so that it comes out while I'm on holiday, because you're not going to hear from me for a little bit. This episode is going to come out the day after I record it. So that will hopefully be the day I record the next one. But we have an even bigger announcement to talk about. And so make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you give this video a like. Make sure you're following us on Spotify or whatever your podcast provider is, so you do not miss episode 5, where we are going to talk about probably the biggest announcement that we have had in Middle-earth strategy battle game for the past 6 years. Major stuff. Very, very exciting. Too big to include in this episode. Thank you for joining us, and we'll speak to you soon.